Okay, we're live. Hello.
Hello, Beth. Hello,
How
Beth.
are you?
Sorry.
It's okay. How are you?
I somehow for I am yeah I'm tongue tied today. So today, last time we wanted to continue our conversation about not attached to outcomes in the context of relationship. Like when we attach to outcomes, somehow it's supposed to be, or we hear about it, that it's not as good in relationship. So what do you think of, or what comes to you when you think about not being attached to outcomes in relationships? Because relationship, the whole point is to make the relationship work. We want to be attached to outcomes, maybe.
Right, we want to be attached and connected to our partner, but not necessarily to how our partner behaves. So that's a great distinction we can make. So, as an example, I had a client today and she said, what should I do if he? Being detached from outcome means I do the best that I can. I ask in a clear, excuse me, in a clear way for something that I want and need. If my partner says no, then I see it. Terry Real calls it a micro disappointment. It's not, oh my golly, now the whole relationship has ended. It's not a macro disappointment. Today, Thursday at 3 o'clock, he said he's not going to give me what I want. He can't give me what I want. That's a certain detachment from outcome. The other detachment from outcome that I see is if my partner wants to behave like a jerk and I stay grounded and try and be there for him and offer my adult ego state and don't jump in the mud with him and we off to the races like we normally are, that's an okay time for the relationship. That's a bad time for him. Maybe that's not such a great time for him. It's a so time for the relationship, but it's a great time for me. It's a great day for me in the relationship. I have kept my calm and I haven't been sucked into door A with him. I chose door B.
Hmm. So what I heard is that what matters is day to day or minute to minute. We are not attached to what the outcome of our actions is.
Beautiful. Because that's
Yeah.
what relationship is, Yogi. Thomas Hubel says it's minute to minute. It's not I'm in a relationship somewhere out there. It's this. I feel you feeling me feeling you.
Hmm. I feel you, feeling me, feeling you. Wow, that's a three levels of feeling, and I can even see the depth of that feeling. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah.
That's it.
And
It's minute to minute. What do you need right now? What do I need right now?
yeah,
What's the space? What's going on between us?
yeah. I think one thing that being attached to outcomes has brought up for me is I used to think, like, by me being nice, my partner should be nice to me. I
Hmm.
was attached to that.
Your
And
partner should be. I love that.
should be nice to me. And once I realized that that becomes a bit of a horse trading, like I be nice to you, you be nice to me. That's that's like a negotiation instead of a partnership that is unconditional. And I think once I realized I'm not being nice so that she can be nice, I'm being nice because that makes my day. It's not about her. And that has been very powerful for me to not be attached to what comes out of me being nice.
Right. I love that. It's that horse trading. I gave you 3 hours. I expect 3 hours back. That doesn't work in relationship. Relationships are not scientific.
Hmm.
That works in. We said we're coming on at 6. We meet at 6. The train leaves at 5. It leaves at 5. It doesn't work in relationship. What works in relationship is what's coming up for you now. What are you feeling? I sense that you're unhappy. You're sad. What do you need now, right now? And what do you need from me right now?
Yeah,
And to know, but I cannot necessarily give you everything.
yeah. And one thing I want to bring up, and I want to hear you what you say to this is, I've heard in my coaching context and talking to people that if there's no trust with the partner, then it's hard to be not attached to outcomes. because like I don't know if you're trying to manipulate me or trying to misuse me. And in such contexts, how do you think of not being attached to outcomes and still being open and, I'm going to give and give?
Right. I love that. That's very much a work in progress. So in order to be intimate and close, I think it's Pia Melody. She says intimacy is the meeting of truth and vulnerability. Truth and vulnerability. And that's one of the ways to build trust. If I feel I can show up in who I am and you don't judge that, that will encourage me to feel trust. Another way that we also feel trust is in the repair phase. Our society tends to honor harmony. All relationships should just be harmonious. But the reality is, this is a lot from Ed Tronick's work, that there's profound depth and closeness that comes out of the repair. Because the repair means I trust you enough that I can show up as who I am and you will be able to receive me.
Yeah, actually this where we are actually being vulnerable and being broken and being heard, that's where the true growth happens, instead of being perfect all the time and not even showing our vulnerable side. Yeah.
Right.
And I used to hear a couplet in Hindi like growing up, which is, I know I completely don't see the point. See, it is like once the relationship breaks, there is a knot in the relationship and it never heals. And like that's I don't find it to be the case in actually the knots are the one that make the relationship beautiful if we are able to handle the knots well.
Well, if you think of when I hear you say that, and there's some beauty in what you just said about the knots. If I think of a string and we put knots in it, it makes that string stronger. So maybe we've had those knots and we have them, but we are stronger because of them.
Because of them.
That's what I hear when you say that. I don't know if that's what saying actually means.
Yeah.
That's what
and I don't know scientifically if it makes them stronger, but in my relationships, I've seen definitely that the knots and the conflicts, if we work with them in an empowering way, they actually make the relationship stronger. They make it more versatile, and that's beautiful.
We can't not have conflict because we're two. We're not one. We're not in a relationship with ourselves. We're not living in a cave. That's why when people say they're on a spiritual path. The spiritual path isn't in the cave. The spiritual path is in relationship. When we can do that repair, there's a lot of spirituality in that.
Yeah. I mean, we have conflict with ourselves all the time anyway. So even if there is one person, there is a lot of conflict. And two, definitely there will be conflict.
Exactly.
One thing that in the context, I've heard this in the context of like work and team cultures. And one thing I really see is the conflicts are really, they make the relationship stronger if there is trust. But if there's no trust, then conflicts are actually very bad. They can actually break things apart.
Right. So
I think having that vulnerability and trust, and then being open to conflict, that's a recipe for stronger relationships, in my opinion.
Well, in order to trust, we need to take risk.
Yeah.
And that's scary. That takes courage. That takes
trust.
Gosh,
takes
I feel
courage.
that you will receive me.
Yeah, I guess being closed in doesn't need any courage. You can just be closed in. I'm not going to share anything. Right. But actually being vulnerable requires trust.
Right. Because that's where the connection, be closed in means I'm protected, but I'm not connected.
Yeah.
I'm living in my cave.
Yes. And speaking of not attached to outcomes, and you mentioned spirituality, like in many spiritual contexts, this is a very well-known thing, not being attached to outcomes, doing the action, doing the work you need to do, and not being attached to the fruit thereof. And that's there in actually most religions, most spirituality, also spiritual context. So I think that definitely applies to relationship for me in my experience and in my experience of working with people also.
Right. It's beautiful. Thank you again, Yogi, for showing up. I wish
Thank you.
everybody to be kind to each other, to take risks, be vulnerable, connect.
Yeah, and maybe next time we can talk about the trust thing that came up. Like if I see that the person doesn't trust, the other person is not trusting, and I can't trust them, what to do about that?
Okay, that's a great topic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.